was doing an internship here, and he was doing some new product development, and they were, at the time, they were looking to expand their sales and marketing positions, and they needed a graphic designer.
Oh.
I had spent some years teaching right after college, and then I was working as a graphic designer at a video place up in Tacoma, and he knew that I wanted to be working more in Tacoma, so came in for an interview, and 5 months later and 3 interviews, I got a job. So I started as a graphic designer. And
So would that have been Todd at that time then?
yeah, Todd hired me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Todd and Scott at that time ran the company. Lloyd was already out of day-to-day. They had recently purchased the entire company from, or Lloyd's half of the company from him just a few years before that. So Lloyd owned half the company up until the mid-90s, and then the brothers bought him out, and then shortly afterwards, Todd and Scott bought out the Darlings half.
Okay.
So Mary and Peter had stolen half the company up until that point. It's probably in the story about how Lloyd got involved with Jerry.
Yeah. Did he have a background in paper or manufacturing?
No, he was like a shoes and clothing sales from Tacoma.
So he has a sales background.
Yeah, sales background, bright guy. He actually was instrumental in building the first like coding machine the company used.
Wow. Just as an advisor, or
just as like making it happen.
Okay. After he got involved.
After he got involved,
okay.
Right? Yeah, he's certainly an old school type of roll up your sleeves and get stuff done type of guy.
Figure it out.
So I had the opportunity to meet with him many times over the years before he passed away. He's a personality.
Really?
Yeah, he was a personality. He's just
So as far as you know, he was doing sales and then just heard about, or maybe saw what they were doing, or.
So this is what I've been told and what I can remember is that he had a friend of some kind that knew Jerry and knew that Jerry was looking to kind of save the business, and that Lloyd should
Like it was kind of in trouble.
Yeah, it was in trouble, right?
Okay.
And that it was a good concept, but it wasn't doing well, and that maybe Lloyd should go and have a talk with him. So they met over lunch. They had a few martinis, and this is the story.
Sure.
Is that over this martini lunch, Jerry offered Lloyd half the company if he was to come on and basically save it.
Yeah.
So after a year, the company was doing much better. Jerry honored the deal, and
Did they, from what you know, did they get along?
as far as I know, yeah, I never heard anything about animosity between the two.
Yeah, they seem to be a good fit.
Yeah, and Todd and Scott, they had very fond memories and feelings for Mary, and well, Jerry was pretty old by the time they were kind of starting to get involved in the business. But Mary and Peter, they got along well.
Okay, so back to so you were in graphic design, so 21 years ago, so we're talking turn of the century, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit different now than it was then?
It is. It's actually funny, I just said this the other day, it's that for the first 15 years of my existence here, the company didn't change much at all.
Yeah.
And then just in the last 5 or 6 years, it's really changed a lot because the brothers sold to a private equity firm. This would be almost 7 years ago now. And then they, in turn, sold to a different private equity firm about a year and a half ago. So and that's kind of the way it goes.
Sure.
They hold it for about 4 or 5 years, and then they turn it.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in that cycle now.
Yeah.
So lots changed because of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
but they're still involved. They were on both boards. They were on the CID board, and they're still on the Capital Peak board.
So when you started 21 years ago, what did graphic design and like your responsibilities entail? And how did that evolve?
When I started, we still had an old school imposition camera in the art room.
Oh wow!
So you had the black and whites, and you actually used the camera to transfer onto the film and the plates for printing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and that's shortly after that everything kind of started going digital. But
Yeah.
yeah, when I started here, we were using FrontPage to build our website. I had PageMaker,
Yeah.
6.5, which was the latest and greatest at the time, to build our catalogs and flyers.
Yeah, a lot more mailers, things like that, right? Print
Yeah,
mailers.
snail mail was certainly a big part of the business, and back then we also had a science division where we printed kind of on thin, the Polydura 19 materials that's on the covers of our books.
Oh, okay.
So we printed on that for signage, mostly for like boundary markers and wetland markers.
Okay, so like as an add-on service to people that were already using the product, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crossover, like
Yeah.
I said, there's a lot of crossover between those two users. So we did a lot of that, so we did all those mailings
Yeah.
to the Department of Natural Resources, etc.
Do you remember when you started kind of what the core audience was, and then, because it seems like even in the last couple of years, you guys have kind of really branched out into different segments.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I started, they had just, in fact, Tad Monroe was the first person to kind of get into this market. He and another guy had started developing and selling into the public safety market.
Okay.
So we developed what we now have as our FI notebook, our field interview notebook, and an EMS notebook. And then they did a few other things that have since been discontinued, but those two still remain. So up until that point, the bread and butter was it was education. When I say education, it's like higher education. So geology students, environmental science students.
Anybody working outdoors.
Anybody working outdoors. So it was certainly the academic / engineering and sciences market, and then government employees, but government on the Department of Natural Resources side,
Sure.
not the military side.
Okay.
So up until the late '90s, that's what the business was. It started as a timber surveying business only.
Yeah.
Sold to timber surveyors in back in the 20s, and then we got into the sciences and geology, and some like oil prospecting, etc. Because there's crossover there between geology and the oil industry, and then it was that way for a long time, and then like I said, in the late '90s we started getting into the public safety market, and then in 2002, 2003 we started working on a government contract, because we had what started as a guy came into our office from what was Fort Lewis then, now is JBLM. Came in and he had a Write in the Rain notebook, and he had covered the entire thing in duct tape.
Yeah, the cover.
Yeah, and he shows us a yellow notebook, and he's like, "What's wrong with this?" And he holds it up against his uniform.
Oh.
He's like, "This is what I have to do to use your product. You guys need to make a green notebook."
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make a green notebook. So
Well, that's cool. Customer coming to you to innovate.
Yeah, that happens actually quite a bit for us over the years.
Yeah. Could you do this or do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of that. So anyway, long story short, we got a government contract. We started signing the military. Turns out they really wanted our product.
Huh.
What they had been issued up until that point was called the Green Book, and it was just poorly made. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on film. It's a poorly made book. It didn't hold up to.
Just too bulky, or?
It was hardcover.
Yeah.
So it didn't fit into the BDU pant pockets very well. It really actually didn't fit into any pocket real well. So you had to put it in a pack.
Yeah.
It's still
not easily
it's still out there.
accessible.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't have any flex to it. The paper is just cheap,
Yeah.
plain paper. So if it gets wet or if it gets sweaty or anything, it just falls apart.
Yeah.
And the binding itself is really not well done.
Yeah.
So it was just not.
Yeah.
What they
Whereas
did.
you've been able to adapt to.
Yeah. So what it became was this product here. So the first iteration of our Green Book was actually a hardcover book, much like that they had at the time.
Yeah.
But then guys said, "Well, can you make it so it's a soft cover so I can actually put it in my different pockets?" And so we did. We made it a soft cover book, and we've sold a lot of these things.
Is this an adaptation for the military as well, or more of like a private use?
It is. So, again, the covers were kind of at request by some of our government customers.
These are all waterproof as well.
They are. So the stitching, I mean, you can take them underwater,
Sure.
but it's cordura, so the water will bead up it
Yeah.
and wash right off. And that was the thing when we were asked, like, hey, you guys should make covers for your books, and we're like, well, our books are tough enough.
Yeah,
You don't need a cover on it. But turns out people love them because they last forever, and two, they can hold other things inside with your book, so you can hold your pens and pencils, or a map, or contact information, etc.
Yeah.
So,
That's wild.
and it does help with the wear and tear in and out of your pack.
Yep.
It does help with that.
Yeah. And some people just like that. Some people are minimalist, and some people want the whole kit, right? Is Tad still involved with the company? Right?
No, he's not.
How long did he stay after you came on? Well, you came on as an intern?
No, I came on as
You
full
said
time.
5 months and 3 interviews later.
Yeah, exactly. It took a while to get hired. Tad actually, he left maybe just a few weeks after I started.
Yeah.
Because he was moving on to other things.
Okay.
And he was actually studying to be a pastor. He moved on to other things, and I didn't take his job because his job was more R&D, product development, and then some advertising. So I kind of did the graphic design, website, print materials when I started.
Nice. Okay, so when you came in, Todd and Todd and Scott were managing the day-to-day. And you said you had some interaction with Lloyd. And then from what you understand, when Jerry was running the business, his wife kind of helped run the day-to-day and the financials. Do you have kind of, I guess this is a broad question, but like an idea of like management styles through the years that helped? I guess maybe could you give a brief summary of like maybe strengths and weaknesses as far as you understand them, and then how that helped evolve the company?
Well, I can give you my opinions and what I've been told.
From what you,
right.
You obviously have more direct interaction with Todd and
Right,
Scott.
Yeah, I can give you my feedback from
the
them.
cliff notes, I guess, of Jerry and Lloyd. From
Right.
what you know.
So what I've been told, and this is just me talking, so I can't speak for everyone. But what I've been told is that Jerry was kind of interested in lots of things.
Okay.
And
More of an idea guy, maybe.
yeah. He liked to fish. He liked to be outdoors a lot. And Mary and Peter, their son, he's really the guy that says this every time we get together. His mom was really the one that kind of held the business together for a long time, because she was doing the books, and she was making sure the employees were paid, and she was doing a lot of the actual business management.
Well, and when Jerry, so initially it was for timber products, right? But he wasn't involved in the timber industry.
No, there was, he wasn't really. There was, I think.
So it's not like he was out doing the work and said, I need this, and made it.
No, what I've been told is that he basically had known some folks that were struggling, and there was challenges.
Obviously timber was big around here.
Yeah, it was. And at the time he was more down in the South Bend area. Yeah. And so the timber industry was pretty big. And so, I don't think he was working for a timber firm at all. It was just like he had known that this was a challenge. They were trying to take notes.
Yeah.
They couldn't. And so they actually started by painting like thin shingles of wood so they could write on it.
Okay.
And then that turned into dipping sheets of paper into a coating.
The secret sauce.
The secret sauce, right? The first secret sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he kind of helps create the idea, and that was prior to him going to war, right?
It was.
And then,
so he had I don't know if the Buffington guy was the chemist or what, but I know that he had partnered with some sort of chemist to help develop the original coating, and I don't know if that's Buffington.
Yeah. But Buffington was involved.
Buffington
pre-war
was his business. The business wasn't doing well for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And then.
So Jerry kind of starts over.
He still
has the sauce, so to speak. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So then he starts, and then I guess one of the articles I saw, they had like some kind of bicycle contraption that would dip the paper.
Yeah, so later on down the road, they had built this thing where it was basically this bicycle chain contraption where it would, the paper, they'd hang it and they'd turn it and it would go down.
Yeah.
And so they had a whole room of basically drying sheets of paper.
It was like in their living room, or?
It was in their garage.
Okay.
At the time, I think this is now at the Browns Point location. And then you would know it's a Rite in the Rain piece of paper because they, in the morning, they'd clip off the bottom corners where all the coating had.
Oh, kind of gathered.
Yeah, gathered. So they clip off the bottom corner, and then that's how you knew it was a piece of Rite in the Rain.
Oh wow. So they do it in the garage. Do you have any knowledge of when they took it to their first kind of warehouse, or?
So they at some point they had a printing operation in downtown Tacoma that is on A Street, and it's where the Matador restaurant's at.
Okay.
There was a space behind where that restaurant is now in that same building that they occupied.
Okay.
And I don't think it was really big at all. I think it was just
a couple employees.
I think it was a printing press, a couple employees,
and from your understanding, Mary most likely would have been the one kind of supervising the crew and.
Yeah, and that's what Peter would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know at that time, was Peter of age at that time, or obviously family business, everybody helps, but do you know roughly what age he would have been?
See, this is the tricky part. I don't know if that ran at the same time as they were coding at their house in Browns Point.
Okay.
So they may have been coding there and printing there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But when they were coding at Browns Point, Peter was of age and he was helping with the coding process.
Yeah.
Because he was talking stories about,
working in the warehouse.
Enjoying that. Yeah, and when I say warehouse, it's like basically just their exterior, their detached garage.
Yeah.
That they had set up an operation in.
So he ran that part, and then Mary most likely ran the downtown portion.
Or something.
Yeah. So, so then, when do you have an idea? We talked about when Lloyd got involved, and then do you have kind of an idea of Lloyd's strengths and weaknesses and how he grew the business?
Well, yeah, like I said, Lloyd was a really bright guy, a great salesman, also very mechanical.
Huh.
And so, like I said, he was instrumental in kind of putting together that first coding machine. He also did the first trade show,
wow.
And we have a picture of it somewhere. He has a little water test thing set up, and he's got some graphics that he had produced.
Similar to the faucet displays that you guys have?
Yeah, honestly, it was pretty similar to that. He was also pretty artistic, so he kind of revamped the logo. This is maybe folklore, but he had drawn the duck logo that we used in the 50s and 60s. Now, one time I talked to somebody and they said no, they had a graphic designer do that, but I think Todd had told me a couple times that Lloyd was actually the one that drew that.
Drew it, had the concept.
Yeah, and he could draw really well, and he did a lot of that hand scripting on things.
Wow.
I think the real slanty script logo, it's revised now, but that original one, that was Lloyd that
His
did that.
handwriting.
Uh-huh.
Huh. Now, was it under Lloyd that it became Rite in the Rain?
No, it was already Rite in the Rain as far as I know. It was, it was Rite in the Rain prior to that. In fact, we have some really old books with Rite in the Rain on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that predated Lloyd. But he really pumped in kind of the marketing.
Yeah.
And the intentionality.
The brand.
Right, the brand of it. Mm-hmm. So as far as like business style, I know that he brought a lot to the table. He had a ton of skills. Like I said, he was a big personality.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of motivated people to.
He was more of a focused business person.
He was, but he was also a big people person.
Sure.
So he made connections. He was a old school pounding flesh type of guy too. And
was Jerry, from what you understand, like involved in the community and stuff like that, or more interested in his extracurricular activities?
I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know he loved the outdoors.
Yeah.
There's lots of pictures of him fishing.
Sure.
There's lots of pictures of him out doing.
Whereas Lloyd's more of a get engaged, expand.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lloyd was certainly more of the traditional business guy.
Sure. Yeah.
So as far as like management style, business style, Lloyd was absolutely like the Renaissance man.
Yeah.
You know, roll up your sleeves and kind of do everything that
Yeah.
needed to be done. And at the time, there was only a handful of employees, so
Yeah.
you kind of have to do that. And then his sons, Todd and Scott, they hired me after they'd kind of taken over both sides of the company. So their management style was, because they had both gone to school, they both studied business, and so they had kind of brought in a more modern aspect to growing the business. So
Yeah.
we need a sales and marketing team, we need R&D, we need, and then right after me, we need a quality control
Yeah.
type person. We need to change the coding. So they really kind of implemented a lot of things that we're still, you know, building on today.
Did they have complementary like skill sets? Or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it's funny, they get along super well.
Yeah.
Fun to kind of watch together. But they are very,
Still, so after years and years
Oh,
of being
yeah.
in business,
Oh,
they
yeah.
still get along.
they're
That's
still like best buds.
Incredible. Yeah.
They had their arguments.
Sure.
But it was
They
always like,
solved them correctly.
yeah, it was always over within minutes. But they're very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Scott is a numbers guy. He was a bank examiner for a time after college. And so the financial side of the business really suited him well. The inventory and production side suited him well. So he handled that, and then Todd handled the sales and marketing side.
Nice. So they respected each other's skill sets and
They did.
yeah.
They really did. They have a ton of respect for each other. And they did at the time. They still do today.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So then, do you have an idea of kind of the growth trajectory under Lloyd, and then once Todd and Scott took over, to what that kind of how that charted out?
Yeah. So, and not knowing the exact numbers, I know that
Yeah.
Lloyd had made the business profitable,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, it wasn't huge.
Expansive. Yeah.
No. So by the time the two boys took it over, it was, it was not huge. It was
Yeah.
not huge. It was enough to be like profitable, like I said, and have maybe at the time a dozen employees.
Oh wow.
So it was not a big business.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of potential there, and so that's why the Todd and Scott were interested in coming back and working for their dad, and,
Yeah.
and at some point taking over. So so after they took over, they made several changes, kind of modernizing the whole business and the process.
Just making it more efficient.
Yeah,
more modern.
Making it more modern in every way, really.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that that Lloyd was able to get away with back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, we need to actually have a policy for this.
Yeah, yeah.
We need to have, an incentive program. We need
Yeah.
to have,
Yeah.
a lot of things that, before that, it's like,
Yeah.
I remember Todd was always said that, like, when it came to Christmas bonus time, it would depend on Dad's mood
Yeah.
if someone was going to get it or not.
Yeah. 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 Could be good and bad. Could be very, very good.
Yeah, it could be great. It could be
Yeah.
non-existent.
Yeah.
And so, Todd and Scott worked hard to make everything kind of intentional.
Would something like the government contract, is it something where there's a certain product that kind of art things?
So yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Is that after the brothers took it over, business was profitable. It was
Solid.
During my entire tenure here
Yeah.
in the company's always been kind of rock solid financially.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they started. It's like, we don't want to necessarily grow super fast.
Yeah.
We just want to be financially own it. So they do. They own the building. They own every piece of machinery outright.
Yeah.
There was not a piece of debt anywhere.
How long ago did it come to this location?
It was 1996 or 7.
Okay.
So it's just a couple years before I started. And before that, it was over at 2212 Port Tacoma Road, which they'd owned that property as well, and we kept our coding operation there for a couple of years after I started,
wow.
and then eventually moved it over here. Because at the time when they bought and kind of built out this building, we had a tenant here, we had a tenant out back,
Oh wow.
and then when they moved the coating operation over, they took over that
Needed
space
all of
in
the
back.
space. Yeah.
And then several years later, we took over this space because we needed much more room to get our shipping
Oh.
department kind of
Gotcha.
modernized.
Yeah.
Because at the time we were just using this tiny little bay door over here, and our shipping department was smaller than this room.
Oh wow.
So it was
Chaotic. Yeah.
It was chaotic, yeah. And we were starting to do more direct to consumer sales off our website.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do that
Yeah.
with one person in a room that's like 8x8.
Yeah. Set up your stacks and whatnot.
Right. So where I was going with so
yeah.
financially they did a great job of just making sure that everything was solid. Like I said, they were almost completely debt free.
Yeah.
They owned everything, and so then they looked to kind of expand the business slowly.
Yeah.
And then about that same time, because of Tab and Row, looking into growing it through the public safety market, and then the military was shortly after that. It's kind of fortuitous, and so the military really just leapfrogged the entire business.
Well, that can be dangerous at the same time, right? Such a high demand contract.
It was. Fortunately, the brothers, like I said, were so just smart with their money. They had capital to invest in building inventory.
Yeah.
So when the orders came in, and they came in, we had product to ship.
Yeah.
And the government, of course, they want everything shipped within a certain amount of time. So there were requirements that we needed to meet, and to their credit, they were able to meet it.
Yeah.
And still to this day, we had our biggest month ever shortly after we got that government contract.
Yeah. Now, is that all branches of the military, or?
It's mostly Army.
Okay.
And within Army, mostly infantry.
Okay.
It still is
Yeah.
pretty much that way to this day. And we sell quite a bit to the Marines, but it's just a much smaller branch.
Yeah.
And we sell some to the Air Force and the Coast Guard and to the Navy as well, but it's much smaller
Yeah.
units just because they're, it's what they do.
Yeah.
The Army's outside
In the field.
in the field taking lots of notes.
Yep.
So, and it's been a great business since then. It's at the time it doubled the business.
Wow.
And it's still to this day, the government business in its entirety is about half of our business.
Yes. And then so some of the innovations now is like I saw like diving and applications where literally you can be underwater and potentially writing.
Yeah, so we do have a line of synthetic products called Rite, and there's some over there. And that was, we built those years and years ago actually, before I started, in response to folks that said, well, right now it's great, but actually I'm working underwater. I'm literally like underwater for hours on end. Do you guys have something for that?
Yeah.
And so we developed, it's a synthetic product, it's a plastic product, and so it can be taken underwater indefinitely.
And is that, can you write with a pencil underwater, or do you have to specifically use a pen you guys developed?
No, you can use a pencil.
Underwater, you can write underwater with a pencil?
A lot of pencils won't survive underwater too long just because the wood will absorb the water and fall apart. But you could use pencil underwater.
Wow.
Or what divers often have is the wax markers.
Okay.
And so you can use those.
And that'll write on the...
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool.
Or you could take one of our pens.
Yeah. So you have your core business and then the government contracts, and then it seems like a lot of your newer products is more of some of the extreme sports and outdoor activities and those kinds of things.
Yes.
Smaller niches. How do you, is that, I guess without giving away too much, like how do you decide whether a market's too niche? When do you decide to try to adapt to somebody's request?
That's a great question, and that's something we struggle with all the time because every opportunity is an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
but will it be a profitable one, or enough of a brand enhancer?
For a lot of my tenure here, we've certainly chased a lot of kind of small ideas.
Yeah.
And they've those small ideas take a lot of work, and and oftentimes they don't pay off. So it's it's tough to
Yeah.
to know which one to really invest in.
Well, maybe can you share what's a small idea that you guys were on the fence about that's really kind of been either fun and rewarding or profitable?
Well, I'll give you a good example of a product that. So I told you about the green book, the Army book.
Yep.
The infantry guy wanted us to build. That was certainly a great move
That
for us.
definitely potential upside was.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
The other one was we had been asked to develop a geology-specific field book for geology
Okay.
students and workers. And so what we took is we took our field book. We had the page pattern in it that they preferred, which I believe is it's more of a technical, like it's a field, metric field type of pattern. And then we put some reference material on the back that they needed
Okay. Yeah. Common.
when they're out working. And so then we went to the geology trade show every year for years, and Todd was able to make some great connections with some professors and some big geology departments. And now it's kind of like the standard issue book for most geology departments across the country.
Yeah. And there really wasn't anything like that.
There really
previously?
wasn't. They were already a fan of Rite and Rain. A
Yeah.
lot of them were, but this was something that was made specifically for them.
Yeah.
And to this day, it sells very well.
Yeah.
It's a great book. We've updated the reference material several times over the years.
Yeah.
As professors call us and say, hey, you know what, you should change that date line.
Well, I mean, it just seems obviously there's unlimited applications. It's just the toughest part is figuring out what's going to take to break into that
Yeah.
segment and whether, even if you broke in, whether it would pay off.
Right. So there's two things there. One is, is the market big enough to support a product launch? Because we don't sell cars or helicopters. We need to sell a lot of units to make it the investment worthwhile.
Just to cover your baseline investment.
Right. The other thing is for us, we have quite a large network of retail locations and have for years, but for most of that time they were small engineering survey type shops that maybe had a few products and they sold to a very, very niche market. So people would ask us when we go to trade shows, like, where can I find you? And the answer was always really difficult for us. We had been in our REI for quite some time. We have got a 35-year plus relationship with them. So we'd say REI, and most people wouldn't know that, but REIs aren't everywhere. Nor are they really the place you go to for like supplies or field materials. So for the recreation folks, they're like, oh sweet, let's get your stuff at REI. But there was no other like big retail chain that we could point people to. And still to this day, we really don't have too many like mass.
My first
outlets.
exposure was McClendon's.
Oh yeah.
And then I guess you guys are in some Home Depots. And
Some Home
whatnot.
Depots, some Target stores now. We're doing a test in Target. Academy Sports it's a big chain down in the southeast.
Okay.
We're now selling to them. The Clinton's is part of is it Ace Network or the True Network? I think it's part of the Ace Network or both.
Oh, okay.
So we sell into the Ace Network, so we have a lot of independent
Hardware.
small and independent hardwares that carry our products, but it's not ubiquitous across the entire network. Who else? We're talking with a few others right now, but it's really for most of almost all of our history, we really just don't have any big type of retail locations to point to. That was my point. Getting back to starting a new product, it's tough because how big is that market, and then who are we gonna sell it through?
How are we gonna distribute
to get there? How are you gonna distribute it? Nowadays, you can point to e-com and say, well, we'll put it on e-com, and that's certainly a big part of our business. But for years and years, e-com was more of it was brand new. It's a very small part of the business. It was really not somewhere where you could legitimately point, let's go to our website. Nowadays, that's very legit, but back then it wasn't.
Well, even then you talked about shipping. You know, even if you commit heavy to e-com, you gotta be able to ship it out in a timely fashion.
You do.